We're going to be talking about our V8 swapped W204 C-Class with a manual transmission. Yes, that's right. V8 manual rear-wheel drive Mercedes. Let's talk about it. Of course, we always have a backstory on all of our cars, so I'll just jump right on into it. I got this car personally. This car belonged to me when Noah and I were working at the shop we came from before we migrated here. It's a 2009 C-Class. It does have a salvage title, and I traded it for a 1994 Dodge truck. Yes, that's right, a 1994 Dodge truck. It was a Cummins diesel, so they do hold their value, but I just thought that this was an excellent car minus the salvage title. It has right around 105,000 miles on it now. I actually got it in the 5-digit mileage. I want to say somewhere around 98,000 miles. The wheels are a little subpar. I'll be nice and say that. And so is the paint. However, that's what's getting at the moment. It's going to be Miami blue when we're done with it. This car no longer belongs to me. It belongs to a different one of our customer now, and he absolutely loves it. So let's dive right into the engine bay. So when we started this project, it was around Christmas time, 2021. Noah and I were bored, and we decided, let's put a V8 in this thing. We read some forums. They said you couldn't be done. I begged to differ. So here we have an M273. You're going to want, if you plan to do this swap, you're going to need a M273 out of an E chassis or a CLS chassis, not an S-Class and not a CL chassis. The reason I say this is a CL and an S-Class, you're going to have a front sump setup which will not fit this subframe. The subframe in this car is like one of an E-Class. I believe it's actually the same one. So if you get a motor from an E-Class, it will bolt right in just as this one did. When it comes to the transmission, yes, this is a 6-speed manual. There's no lies about it. There she is. Beautiful as ever. The only issue this problem has is right now we're in the works of getting a custom clutch setup made for this car. I don't believe the pressure plate is applying enough pressure, and she will slip, under really hard driving. So say like tracking it or really just out with the guys having a good night. She's going to slip a little bit. But it is putting down about 400 horsepower, obviously crank, not to the wheels. But in a car this light, I mean, this thing is lightning. It is very quick, quite the sleeper, and put a lot of people in tears with this car on the road just because they thought they were messing with a regular C-Class, but they weren't messing with the regular Joe. I am not the regular Joe, and I refuse to drive this car the way it was. So now it is proper. Rear-wheel drive manual, as Mercedes has never made. So let's talk a little bit about the rest of the car. Unfortunately, it's against the wall, so I can't get too good of a photo. However, you can see how poor the paint quality is on this car when I really get into the light. The paint has no shine in it. I mean, you can't even see me in the reflection, and it's just real bad. So we're getting that fixed up now. Putting a new door on the car. We found most of the bodywork, and looking at Carfax reports, a lot of the damage to this car was here. It happened at 2,000 miles. I mean, this thing didn't even have its first oil change yet, and it was already totaled. You hate to see it. However, I believe this car, it is an AMG Sport package, has the flip-up screen instead of the one that just comes up a little bit, completely flips up, and a lot of the nice stainless trim in this car. I mean, it's a pretty looking car, has the casual 204 seat rip right there. Every 204 I've ever seen has that tear, I swear. But that's really much it. It's a fairly simple car. However, I think it's comparable to a C63. Obviously, a C63 is going to win just in shift time and a little bit more horsepower, but for the price, you just don't go wrong. I have less than $10,000 into this complete engine swap, and that was doing a new flywheel, new clutch, a lot of new belt drive items, oil filter housing gaskets, just getting it cleaned up. Obviously, it's pretty dirty now. He's been driving it a lot, and we're going to pull the engine back out to paint it. So I will get all that on video for you guys, and of course, a swap video if you guys are looking to do this in your car. We have done another one in a red 204 that belongs to Neil. Shout out to Neil. We're going to be doing a video comparing the both of them and seeing which one performs better and why, and what we prefer about the cars and what we don't like, and things we could change if we could. But for the most part, this swap was fairly bolt-on. I mean, the flywheel bolts onto this engine. The clutch fits perfectly. The transmission bolts to this engine just fine. It sits right in the factory mount location. There's a lot of modifications you can do with this upper coolant thing. Depending on the engine you get, there's actually on the S chassis, I know it actually comes out forward and it's a complete hose, where on the E chassis it has this hard neck. And I had to drill and tap this hole so that we could get a nice, we retain the self-bleeding Mercedes system, and, just helps get some air out of the system when you're bleeding. It's a little bit higher than the reservoir. If you look, the reservoir is a little bit lower. So we were definitely having some heat problems. Drilled and tapped that, no problem, fixed it up. And yeah, the car is really raw right now. We have it apart for paint, so don't judge. It's a little raw at the moment, but it does clean up nicely. Yeah, just wanted to overview the car, and it does run and drive, and it is a ripper. So if you guys want to see a video on how to do the swap, I will gladly provide it, but I won't do it for no reason. So if you guys want to see it, please let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching again, guys.